Hey, welcome back for another episode of Porn Brain Rewire the podcast. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh, and today I'm really excited to debunk and demystify the 6 most common myths about porn use. I want to tell you today what you need to hear about porn, opposed to what you want to hear about porn. And that's the layout for today. At the end of this episode, I am going to give you your brain hack strategy for the day so that you can quit porn for good and ride off into the sunset with a honey that you have a lot of actual sex with. Okay, number 1 is that porn is good for you. I know so many men that I work with, they want to hear porn is fine for me. But the science shows that porn damages your brain and it impacts your life in such negative ways. Number 1 way is arousal dysfunction, which can lead to anxiety and depression, and sexual arousal dysfunction that leads to erectile dysfunction, premature and delayed ejaculation. Porn messes with your brain, your mind, and your body. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Porn is fine in moderation. And I hear that a lot. Okay, my porn habit got out of control in the past, but isn't it okay for me to go back to porn in moderation? So when we think about porn in that way, the answer is no. Porn is not fine in moderation. And we're going to put a caveat, but this is for most people, especially if you have had a compulsive pornography habit in the past. If your brain goes back to porn, it will tend to binge and tend to want those high levels of dopamine that it used to get. So moderation is not usually a thing for people who have had a compulsive porn habit. I've heard this so many times. It's the hijacker in your brain. You might tell yourself, I'm just going to test myself. That's the hijacker talking. If you hear the hijacker tell you, I'm just going to test myself and see if I can just look at a little porn, you might be able to pull it off that time, but it usually leads you to the slippery slope back into a full-blown compulsive porn habit. 46.9% of porn users demonstrate escalation behavior. Okay, number 3 is a really good one. Let's dig into this one because I'm excited to share it with you. Porn spices up my sex life. First of all, porn is unhealthy sexuality, not healthy sexuality. There is an increase in objectification and dehumanization of other people, mostly men of women, meaning that if you watch porn, women are treated violently. They're treated like objects for a man's pleasure. There are studies that show that men who consume porn are more likely to commit sexual violence. And if they see it being committed, they're less likely to intervene. So, is it spicing up your sex life? Probably not. It's making you objectify your partner, use that partner for high levels of dopamine, not for serotonin and oxytocin, which are the neurotransmitters of connection and of happiness. So the number 1 thing that is going to make it so your marriage suffers is porn. So if you're married or if you're thinking about getting married, I want you to know that. Porn does not spice up your sex life. It makes you less satisfied with your partner, and it has the highest likelihood of killing your relationship. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is that this is the myth. Number 4 is that porn does not impact your interactions and how you approach women. Healthy women will not like being approached that way. So if you're in an unhealthy sexual position in your mind and your body, compulsive sexual behavior disorder in your brain, and you approach an emotionally healthy woman, she's not going to take highly to the way you're interacting because porn does change the way you interact. But it'll also give you social anxiety and it also gives you shame. Number 5 is porn is not related to all of these conditions you might be struggling with, attention and focus or adult ADHD. Another myth is that porn is not related to your anxiety and depression. It, in fact, is. You feel anxious because your brain's running too fast. You feel depressed because your brain's running too slow or has lowered its power. So porn, in fact, is at the core of many people's anxiety and definitely their depression. One quick reason, you've probably heard me say this before, is that there's a 4D dopamine cycle associated with porn use. That last D is a dopamine deficit in your life. You no longer get the dopamine from your life that you would if you weren't watching porn. That creates anxiety and depression. This is real. And I know you're not associating your anxiety and depression with porn because it feels good in the moment, but in the moment, it's creating all the other moments where you feel bad. You might not also associate your porn habit with lack of motivation, or you used to love your work and now you feel apathy towards it. You feel ho-hum. You might not associate porn use with feeling angry and irritable. Think dopamine deficit. It's the same. It's the same causality there. You might also not connect the dots with your porn use and your erectile dysfunction. I'm telling you, the dots are real. It's proven by science. Okay, let's move on to number 6. I could quit porn if I really wanted to. Now, this one personally breaks my heart because I know how many men try to quit porn and how very difficult it is. So they convince themselves that they don't want to quit porn. And it's not because they don't want to, it's because it's so damn hard. It can be really difficult to leave a dependency. Your brain is dependent upon porn for the way it makes your brain feel from the dopamine release, from the tolerance building, from the escalation of a habit that's probably developed since you were around 10. We might be talking 5 years, we might be talking 10 years, we might be talking decades of dependency on this 4D dopamine cycle of porn. So if you want to quit porn, you totally can, but it might be challenging up front. And I really have been thinking about this because my 90-day digital program is the solution for people who want to tackle porn use by themselves. Get into the 90-day program. It has all the tools, techniques. It teaches you how to use brain training. It's me walking you through lessons every single day for 90 days. If you do that, if you're able to do that by yourself, you will come out 90 days later in a much better position, either completely free from the shackles of porn, or you will understand the last few things that are really challenging for you. You'll be in a different state. And so many people make it through that program by themselves and they rock it out and they move on to a new existence. In that program, I offer quarterly coaching sessions to the group. Zach Carter offers you a personal coaching session. Okay, now moving on to your brain hack strategy for the day. This is a simple one. Get your notebook out, get your journal out, get your fancy pen out, and I want you to think about these 6 myths. And I want you to think about, is the hijacker convincing you some of these myths are true? So here we go. Number 1 is that porn is good for you. So this, I'm going to do it in a first person. Porn is good for me. I need porn because I have a high libido. We've already debunked that, so I want you to think about it. Number 2, porn's fine in moderation. Has the hijacker tried to convince you of that? Number 3, porn's spicing up my sex life. We've already established that is not true. Number 4 is that if I'm having difficulty with women, porn has nothing to do with it. And we know if you have difficulty with your partner or finding a honey, porn has everything to do with it. Number 5 is that porn is not related to my attention and focus issues, to my ADHD, to my anxiety, to my depression, to my motivation, to my apathy towards my job, to my anger, to my irritability, to my erectile dysfunction. Don't kid yourself. Porn's just completely wrapped up in all of those things. And lastly, number 6 is, if I wanted to quit porn, I really could. I would have done it already. Don't kid yourself. Don't let the hijacker convince you that these things are true, and that's why you're continuing to watch porn. You're likely continuing to watch porn because it's just so damn hard to stop. So get the right help so we can move you through. Until next time, control your brain or it will control you. I'll see you next time on the podcast.